Hi guys, welcome to the Sportsman Bet. My name's Lawrence, a massive Man City fan, and for obvious reasons, I'm looking at the Champions League every week this season. Basically, because we haven't won it. It's one of the competitions, obviously, as a fan, I love. As a fan, I'm a little bit distraught with the fact we haven't won it yet. And Guardiola must be looking at it as a Man City manager, being like, I've got to win it this season, surely. I think there's some big teams out there that haven't won it yet. And City are certainly one of them. Let's talk about some of the previews for this week. On Tuesday, there's some great odds here for Inter, Chelsea and Napoli to all win, 12.5 to 1. I think that is such good value based on the fact that Inter are playing great football, Chelsea are playing some great football, and Napoli, it's a tough fixture that they've got. Let's talk about Inter very quickly. Under Conte, they look rejuvenated. They look like a different team altogether. And in Lukaku, they've signed someone that's guaranteed goals for however long he stays there. He's guaranteed 20 to 25 goals a season, surely. So he's worth every single penny they paid for him, about 75 million quid, I believe. He scored about 8 in Serie A already this season. You're just looking at it thinking, surely he's going to be scoring way more in the Champions League than he did when he had, brief opportunities at Man United to do so. And I just think that Dortmund, they're not the same team that people think they are. I think there's a romantic thing about Dortmund in the Champions League. They only got to the final in 2013. They haven't really made consistent runs to the final since, really. And they've only won 2 of their last 8 in the Champions League. And I think Inter are just going to go there, control the game. Conte's a top manager at controlling big games and just pressing when he needs to, sitting deep when he needs to. And you look at Dortmund, they might struggle to score goals in this game. I know they've got the likes of Jadon Sancho, who can do basically anything. He's such a trickster. But Paco Alcacer, he's had a few heel injuries and Achilles injuries, so he might not be starting. With Godin back for Inter, it looks like Inter are going to probably keep a clean sheet, and I think they'll nick a goal. With Martinez up front, Lukaku up front, they're so dangerous. If they play together, which they usually do at the moment, it could be any kind of scoreline. I think Dortmund, it's tough to go to Dortmund and get a result, but I think Inter are just in such good form. Another win in Serie A on the weekend. I think these guys could be dark horses for the Champions League, no doubt. Chelsea versus Ajax. This is a massive game. I think the big thing is if Chelsea win it, they're essentially through the group. They're at that point now. They're top of the group as it stands, and they beat Ajax away. They beat Lille away. These are 2 massive results, and the fact they're at home under the lights of Stamford Bridge. I think Stamford Bridge is a Champions League stadium. I think it's beautiful on a sort of dark wintry night in London. But I do believe with the goals up front in Tammy Abraham, the rejuvenated Kovacic, who wasn't the same kind of player under Sarri a season before, Jorginho, some of the balls he's playing against Watford in the Premier League the week before, absolutely sensational stuff. And I believe that Chelsea will get a result against Ajax. Ajax aren't the same team. Of course, they play some beautiful football still. They always will. It's the Ajax way. It's the Cruyff way, if you will. But I just don't think that Chelsea are going to get outplayed at Stamford Bridge. I really don't. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 in that one. I think it's just going to be a tight game, but I just think Chelsea will outclass them in sort of 2 or 3 key moments in the game and just score. And I think Tammy Abraham is going through such a purple patch at the moment. I think Chelsea are going to get 3 points here. Napoli versus Red Bull Salzburg. This is a really tough fixture to call. I think the big thing is in someone like Erling Haaland, who a young kid, scores tons of goals. He's one of those sort of youth prospects in world football that everyone's looking at, including as Man City fan. Man City are rumoured to be looking at him, Barcelona and the like. He could be a threat, of course he could. But then the rest of the team play with him, and you're looking at it, they're not playing in a top league, in the Austrian league, of course it's not. Napoli at home, even as a City fan, Premier League champions going to Napoli is not something I would even be confident about. Liverpool, obviously, reigning European champions, lost there this season. I think Napoli's just going to have too much about them. Someone like Dries Mertens, who I think is an exceptional striker. The quality of being a Serie A team versus an Austrian league team, let alone the fact it's Napoli, who are on their day a top team anyway. I just think Napoli are going to get through this. But it's probably the hardest fixture to call on Tuesday, just based on the fact that Salzburg caused Liverpool some trouble. You're not quite sure what you're going to get with Salzburg, but the quality and the proof in the pudding always rises to the top, right? So. And the cream always rises to the top, right? So I'm thinking Napoli will get this sort of win and get 3 points. They need it to sort of get closer to progressing through the group, as I'm sure they will. But Salzburg could cause some issues in this one. Right, the Wednesday fixtures, Man City, Spurs and Atletico Madrid to all pick up wins, 5-1. I think those are great odds. It's a little bit more difficult for these set of fixtures. I think Man City, I'll talk about that later in the video, but Spurs, their form is so poor domestically. They haven't obviously won an away game in the Premier League for a very long time now, since January. And you're looking at it, does that form translate to the Champions League? Not necessarily with Spurs, weirdly enough. They got to the Champions League final needing to pick up results away from home. Obviously, they didn't win the final, so that's another loss for them. But I just think Spurs should have enough of Red Star Belgrade. Everyone knows about the stadium that Red Star Belgrade have, the atmosphere. Everyone knows that Spurs are going through a really, really rough time of it in terms of their form. And what happened at Everton can't help them. I know it wasn't one of their players that got majorly injured. But the fact it affected Son the way it did, the fact that Son's looking at a lot of time out, maybe 3, 4, 5 games out of the Premier League and domestic fixtures, it could affect him, and then it suddenly affects other members of the team. Someone like Christian Eriksen has been really off form. Sergio Aurier has not been playing very well. It's really, really tough. It's not an easy time to go to Red Star Belgrade. It never is. They're European heavyweights, historically speaking. The stadium's massive and an oppressive stadium. But you still think, based on how good Spurs can be on their day, with some of the quality they do have in midfield, they do have up front, you just back them to get a win. It's probably the toughest fixture out of all 6 to see if there's going to be a win there. But I do think that Spurs will pick up a positive result. And let's move on quickly to City. Obviously, as a City fan, I think we've done really well this season. 3 wins in 3 in the Champions League. And last time out, obviously beating Atalanta at home. They were tough for points. It was really, really a difficult game. And I'm going to look at the odds for Sterling to score first, which is 4-1, which I think is fantastic considering this calendar year his goal contributions via goals and assists is actually highest in European football. He's at about 53 now, which is absolutely insane to think about. That is Messi level, that is Ronaldo level numbers. Whether you think he is as a player, that's a different debate, right? But he's ahead of Mbappe, he's ahead of Kane, he's ahead of Messi in that time period in terms of goal contributions. You're looking for him to go to Atalanta, have a 20-minute spell of just getting on the ball, driving at defences, creating penalties, creating free kicks, and obviously trying to score from open play. I just think it's going to happen. I think Sterling on his day is unplayable. I really do think that. I think Atalanta have been poor this season as well in the Champions League. 0 wins so far. They've probably struggled to adapt. I think it's their first major season in the competition, so you can't blame them. I remember even with all the riches City had and the players we had, we struggled to adapt to the Champions League when we first joined, and some would argue we've struggled to adapt since because we've never won it. I think we're going to pick up the result here. Sterling to score 4-1. I think that's very, very strong. And let's move on to the final fixture. Bayer Leverkusen versus Atletico Madrid. Both sides' last sort of results domestically not great. Bayer Leverkusen lost to Borussia Mönchengladbach at home, which isn't it's not very good at all, is it? Let's be honest. To lose at home before a Champions League fixture, which is a crunch one for them. They need to win this game if they have any chance of getting through the group. Bayer just don't score goals. That's the big issue. Atletico are very good at not conceding goals as well. And in Morata, Atletico Madrid might have found the sort of answer to some of their problems. He's been getting a few goals this season. He scored against Seville on the weekend. They came from behind to get a draw, which is no mean feat. Seville, obviously, a decent outfit. So I just think Atletico will go to Germany, grind out a result, a very Simeone performance. And I think they could go far in the Champions League this season as well. They're very organised. They've got some talent up front in João Felix, who I think is a potential Ballon d'Or winner. He's that good. I just think they'll go to Germany and get a decent result against Bayer Leverkusen, get the 3 points and go back to Spain happy campers. So guys, let me know your predictions for those fixtures. I think some really great odds based on some of the form that some of the teams are in. There should be a lot of goals. There should be a lot of strong performances out there. And in particular, you're looking at Raheem Sterling to, again, make a mark in Europe. And hopefully he can score and get those 3 points for City and get us basically through the group. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the Sportsman Bet YouTube channel, and I'll see you soon.